Good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jinzhao Cesaroni. I'm the MC for today's event. Let's thank you all for being with us on this tremendous occasion. We're so honored to have you with us today during such a pivotal moment. And I am the special envoy for the 25th anniversary celebration of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. I also work as the director of the WWO North America Network and the CSR Committee. I would like to start by introducing the Director General of the World Women Organization, Honorable Angela, who will deliver today's opening remarks. Angela, Director General Angela, please.
Thank you. Excellencies, friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is a great honor to be here and deliver some remarks at the celebration of the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. While we acknowledge the great strides we have made on gender equality and recognize that many glass ceilings have been shattered over the past quarter of a century, we celebrate the heights scaled by women in their respective fields, may it be captains of industries, leaders of nations, scientists, artists, business leaders, spokesmen, artists, or singers. These not only illustrate the progress on what was laid down in the Beijing Declaration, but also shows that given the opportunity, women can also scale the highest mountains and dive the deepest seas. But on the other side of the coin, we see in some regions, women are still contending with basic rights. After decades of work in some regions, we see women recently being afforded the right to drive and to vote. These are big leaps in their own rights, which reflects a huge amount of hard work and represents a great deal of achievements. But this serves to illustrate the struggle to fulfill the promise of the Beijing Declaration continues, and we all still have a lot of work to do. Dating back to the 20th century, the World Women Organization actively participating in the fight for women's basic rights and has been engaging in women's developmental issues for over 50 years. Right now, with the COVID-19 spreading out around the world, with so many countries and people still suffering from its destruction, we need to innovate and enhance our mission, redouble our effort to protect human peace, promote women's development, and make a difference. According to studies, nearly 60% of women around the world work in the informal economy, earning less, saving less, and are at greater risk of falling into poverty. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres launched the policy brief that illustrates how COVID-19 could reverse the progress that has been made on gender equality, gender harmony, and women's rights. He recommends ways to put women's leadership and contribution at the heart of resilience and recovery. He specifically mentioned three priorities, including assurance of women's equal representation in all COVID-19 response, planning, and decision-making, drive for transformative change for gender harmony by addressing the care economy, both paid and unpaid, and to target women and girls in an effort to address the socio-economy impact of COVID-19. COVID-19 is not only challenging global health systems, but a test for our common humanity. We must answer the call from UN Secretary General Mr. Guterres, where governments are encouraged to take steps to protect women and girls' rights and expand domestic support service. Achieving gender harmony and promoting sustainable development is a universal effort that needs everyone's participation, not only women, but also men. Solidarity and understanding are essential to achieving our shared goals. Engaging boys and young men in understanding the good and important to gender harmony and recognizing their role in promoting the development of women and girls are an important opportunity to the realization of common sustainable development. Men's engagement greatly contributes to the overall gender harmony and common sustainable development. Gender harmony and promotion of women's development. To realize common development are essential to getting through the pandemic. The World Women Organization is going to formulate a series of plans for the global environment and economic reconstruction for the COVID-19 recovery. Excellencies, friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very special year for global development and women's development. This year, we encounter unprecedented difficulties, but we see the mobilization to fight against the problems caused by the worldwide pandemic. Although we experience anxiety, sadness, and depression, we are heartened by the people who are at the front lines, risking their lives to help those who are suffering. Gender harmony and sustainable development are critical issues that exist worldwide. The role of women and children are essential in making the recovery faster in all aspects. We need to raise awareness on the importance and indispensability of women's role in the society. We need to provide enough support to those who are making effort and making a difference. Putting women and girls at the center of the economies will fundamentally achieve better outcomes and contribute to the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. In achieving equality in rights across genders, we need to achieve gender harmony and promote human peace. We need to be reminded that we do not fall into the trap of promoting a certain gender over the other, and maintain fairness in order for women's rights movement to remain pure, positive, and constructive. We should respect the gender difference that we have and embrace the different strengths and contributions we have to offer a society. Only when both genders strive and work in harmony as one can humanity truly progress. Excellencies, friends and colleagues, today it's my honor to attend this celebration, and I would like to thank the Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament of Malaysia for his support and thank the cooperation of Malaysia Foreigner Friendship Alliance. I sincerely wish the event a success. I am looking forward to listening to the voice and ideas that contribute to the development of our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director General Angela. Thank you for your very inspiring speech. We all at World Women Organization look forward to working with you under your strong leadership. We will make a difference. Thank you very much. Now I would like to give everyone a brief introduction about World Women Organization. World Women Organization. First of all, I would like to mention about today we celebrate the landmark 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. This is a crucial, groundbreaking document for the rights of women created by the United Nations. The Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action was signed and adopted by 189 member states at the 4th World Women Conference in Beijing in 1995. Unmatched in its scope and comprehensiveness, the landmark text symbolized a global awakening to the important role of women. The 1995 Beijing Platform for Action's outcome is considered the most progressive blueprint ever for advancing women's rights because it helped establish the defining framework for change. So here are the 12 areas of concerns of the Beijing Platform. This is the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, the 12 areas of concerns. This is a framework that we have been working with. Number one, women and the environment. Women in power and decision making. Number three, the girl child. Number four, women and the economy. Number five, women and poverty. Number six, violence against women. Number seven, human rights of women. Number eight, education and training of women. Number nine, institutional mechanisms for the advancement of women. Number 10, women and health. Number 11, women and the media. Number 12, women and armed conflict. Who we are at World Women Organization, our vision is committed to advancing the overall development of women worldwide to achieve a peaceful, dignified, and equitable future for all humankind. Our mission is to strive for the overall development of women so they may achieve their full potential in all areas, including fundamental rights, health, education, and economic independence within a supportive and a sustainable community. The WWO works collaboratively towards measurable impacts at both local and global level for connecting leaders and advocates from all over the world to promote women's overall development. What we stand for is the future of women is the future of mankind. So sustainable women development is our goal. So what we do at World Women Organization is economic independence of women, education, health, fundamental rights, all within a supportive and sustainable community. So we set up 4 committees to implement our work. Number 1 is Corporate Social Responsibility Committee. Number 2 is Health Committee. Number 3 is Education Committee, and also Economic and Trade Committee. We are building more committees focusing on the areas we just mentioned. So last but not least, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, it's gonna happen in this year. A brief introduction about what we do at the World Women Organization. And we are looking forward to collaborating with everyone here to fulfill our mission and our goals. And thank you for everybody's support. For our today's keynote speaker, I am very pleased to introduce Honorable Dato' Rashid Hasina, the Deputy Speaker of the Malaysia Parliament. And thank you for your support. Please deliver your keynote speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good morning. Assalamualaikum to all of you, fellow members who are attending this virtual conference. First and foremost, I would like to thank all that has been with the World Women Organization for a long time now, as well as those who are new to the organization. Today, as all of you know, marks the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Actions, and I'm extremely proud to be able to attend this meeting and make this address. Before we start, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who have been together on this online conference, and all of course, to WWO, an entity which was founded on the belief that women's overall development is for the footing of peaceful, dignified, and equitable future for all mankind. We couldn't have done it without all of you here and the rest of the women of the world. Let us all recall 25 years ago, during the 4th World Conference on Women, 38 points have been declared and well observed by the entire world. The message was strong and it is still pertinent and relevant till today. Myself as the Deputy Speaker, Malaysian Parliament, House of Representatives, I want to affirm my commitment to improve continuously the status of women, not only in Malaysia, but the rest of the world. In today's online conference, I would like to reiterate the importance of gender-balanced society in every nation, creating more equitable opportunities for women, particularly at the highest level of any organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, beyond the moral and ethical implications suggested by this imbalance, gender inequality puts society at a disadvantage. I repeat, gender inequality puts society at a disadvantage. I believe women have shown time and time again that gender representation of women in society correlates to improved humanity. In essence, diversity leads to more dynamic discussion, a broader range of factors considered, and healthy challenges to conventional thinking. The benefits apply to government as well as private organizations. In short, gender equality at all levels is not just a moral and ethical imperative, it is also good for nation building and the economy. I want to assure all of the leaders, you and the participation of women in the nation's success is a very vital factor. According to the data by the World Bank, Malaysia has close to 51% women's involvement in the workforce. In a nutshell, I'm saying world is half of the humanity. The rate of women in labor participation has increased steadily over the last 15 years due to the government policy of rapid export-oriented industrialization in the late 1960s, which has created tremendous job opportunity for women in the manufacturing sector, particularly in the industrial estates and also the free trade zones. The types of industries where female employment are mostly evident is in the area of, for example, textile, garments, including electrical and electronics. Malaysia is committed to strengthen the implementation of the national policy on women in order to involve more women in the decision-making process, safeguarding their rights to health, education, and social well-being. We are dedicated in removing legal obstacles and discriminatory practices and ensure access to development, particularly in science and also technology. Ladies and gentlemen, the result of this action taken by the government has been positive, giving praise. I want to quote here a few of the examples. 3 local women, Captain Pearl Wendy Mark, Second Officer Wang Wenqian, and the cadet pilot Nur Wai Hidayah Muhammad Rasidin, have broken traditional gender stereotypes by becoming the first batch of female pilots with Malaysia Airlines in 2018. I think they are worth of clapping our table for their successes. And of course, noting we have had our first Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia, Datuk Sri Wan Azizah, last year for a period of about 2 years. Last year, 2019, Malaysia also appointed its first female Chief Justice with the appointment of Federal Court Judge Datuk Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat at the top judge of the country. Again, Malaysia has given the opportunity for women to be in the top leadership of the country. We are also proud to have a female Malaysian representative who has been working with NASA in a nano-satellite project of the young age, at the young age of 36 years old. Apparently, she was from Penang, one of the states in Malaysia, where I was a deputy chief minister then, at that time, I think about 3 years ago. And we are very proud of her, being at a young age, has been working with NASA, a top-notch in the satellite industry. Speaking about good policies that we have, let's not forget Dr. Nur Amalina Sheikh Bakri, who became the first person to score all straight A in 17 subjects in her, they call it is upper secondary school at the age of 17 years old. Thanks to her historical academic achievement, she was offered a scholarship to pursue her studies in medicine in United Kingdom. Now she is successfully a surgeon at the Imperial College Healthcare NHS Trust, doing general vascular and trauma surgeries. And again, apparently, she was that student from Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Tun Sadun, who is under my constituency today. Those are examples of the importance of having balanced gender policies towards building a successful nation. We are continually looking at various ways. We should always be actively asking ourselves how to improve the status of women in society and how to make them upscaling themselves. Everyone in the country needs to be involved. The government needs to work together with the NGOs and the collaboration with universities and also the private sector through a national machinery. There is a need for a National Advisory Council on the integration of women in development as the coordinating and advisory body on women's affairs. A vibrant national policy for women, which expresses an increased awareness and a concern for women's issues, is extremely essential. The continuity to address women's concern and provide the appropriate enabling environment for women to participate more effectively as partners in social and economic development, as well as allowing them to continue to play a significant role in the development of their families, are equally vital. Economic growth has been accompanied by greater participation of women in formal workforce and in a range of other activities. I would like to say here to our fellow friends, once a good policy is in place and applied, you will see significant changes in 10 to 20 years. We don't expect a new policy to be implemented within a year. It might take a longer time, but it has got to start now. Good that this WWO has this, Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. I would like to see that platform for action. So congratulations to the WWO for having this understanding. We are not only by mere lip service, but action plan has got to be in place. Malaysia doesn't see empowering women as an obligation. Again, Malaysia doesn't see empowering women as an obligation, but it is a commitment. Enhance the role of women in this country. There's two different words. Obligation, you're obliged to do that, but when you are committed, you have to do it. We honor the pledges made through the implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action since 1995, as well as ensuring the achievement of goal number 5. This is my forte. I always remember the Sustainable Development Goal. I think Feroz Nazar there helping me up in the Malaysian Parliament, promoting the SDG, where goal number 5 is gender equality. If I may ask all of you, do you remember all the 17 goals or not? Yeah, I hope all of you can remember, but don't forget, number 5 is where our finger is. This is gender equality for the purpose of today achieving the SDG. I know number 4 is equality education, zero poverty, no hunger. All those are part of the SDGs. All this we have to remember by heart. I must stress that goal number 5 of this SDG to support the mainstreaming of gender equality and highlight the importance of technology as a tool of empowerment. So there are much to it. When we say gender equality, there must be, with our knowledge, with our charismatic leadership, put the technology as part of how we want to achieve the goals of the SDG. We have entered the Industrial Revolution 4.0, where women and men share the same right and opportunity in economy. In the current development of world economy, the aspect of inclusiveness is important to ensure women will be able to benefit from the economy and none will be left behind. I like these two words. The aspect of inclusiveness, all of us together. But don't forget, the man as well as has got to be supporting us. Number two, the word none will be left behind. This is actually the jargon, the words always being promoted by our new Prime Minister, the Honorable Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yasir. All of you, Malaysian, hopefully the rest of the world, you will not be left behind. Women empowerment through entrepreneurship is a solution in upgrading women's skills and knowledge so that their participation rate in the economic sector is increased. Again, this point is talking about entrepreneurship and economy. Based on the Global Gender Gap Index 2018, Malaysia ranked 101 out of 149 countries. I know we are not the top notch yet. Meanwhile, in the Global Gender Gap Index 2020, 2 years later, we rank 104 out of 153 countries. It is also noted that retaining women in workforce without developing their potential is not going to enrich diversity in the top management or leadership position and achieve gender parity across all sectors. In 2004, Malaysia announced the policy of having women occupy 30% of decision-making position in public sector. Similarly, the policy of having the same percentage in holding the board of directorship in the corporate sector was implemented. So always 30% women participation. As a result, women leaders in the public sector have shown great progress, with women accounting to 37.3% in 2019 as compared to 36.1% in previous years. Meaning that in that sector, public sector, we are already achieving that 30% target. For the private sector, an increase in women presentation can be seen at the boardroom of the top 100 public listed companies, which is 24.4% in 2018, increased to 26.4% in 2019. So creeping up slowly in meeting up the 30%. Subsequently, for the year 2020, a target has been set to achieve at least 30% women in board of directors. Anyone of you can apply to become board member in any of the public and private sector in Malaysia here. Will all of you apply? Ladies and gentlemen, the National Policy on Women and Action Plan reflects the government commitment to ensure the participation of women in achieving their full potential in the nation plan for development. More recently, a special project team has been set up under the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development, MWFCD, to examine and establish a legal framework on gender equality, aimed at ensuring that individuals can enjoy equal rights and opportunity without any gender-based discrimination in Malaysia. The fact is that the Minister for Ministry of Women and Family, yeah, it's a lady, Honorable Rina Harun. I wish that she can also speak in our conference here. But the fact that I am a man, I'm not a woman. I participated in this World Women Organization. Thank you for inviting me here. Considering the importance of gender mainstreaming, the government has collaborated with the UNDP to develop a gender mainstreaming framework, which includes capacity building programs and appointment of gender focal teams from every ministry. The government is working on this in the form of Protection from Discrimination Against Women Bill. This act, once tabled, is intended to satisfy Malaysia's obligation under Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the famous CEDAW, CEDAW, in addressing issues relating to gender inequality and discrimination against women. The Malaysian Department of Statistics, short word DOSM, has taken the initiative in improving sex segregated statistics for the needs of policy formulation and international agenda such as the A2030 agenda. Gender statistics are pertinent information used in the formulation, implementation, and monitoring of policies at national and international level. DOSM publishes the statistic on women's empowerment in selected domain Malaysia each year, which present gender-related statistics for the current year. Statistics is very important. Keep updating every year so that we know where things are going with regards to statistic numbers in the women. The development of ASEAN Gender Mainstreaming Strategic Framework is a collaborative project undertaken by ASEAN Commission and Promotion and the Protection of the Rights of Women and Children, ACWC of Malaysia, and ASEAN Committee on Women, ACW Philippines. I have a few more points. Be patient to hear in this my speech. The project seeks to identify key issues and challenges in the implementation of gender mainstreaming initiative across the ASEAN member states, AMS, and the three ASEAN community pillars, APSC, AEC, and ASCC. To do this, data on existing gender and related resources, research finding, and best practices are collected from each Asian member states, which while working closely with other countries, gender experts, and related ministry officials. The mandate for gender mainstreaming among ASEAN members countries was reiterated in the Hanoi Declaration on the Enhancement of Welfare and Development of ASEAN Women and Children, signed on 28 October 2010. Malaysia was appointed to take the lead in establishing a network to develop ASEAN guidelines on gender mainstreaming programs and project implementation. Malaysia is working closely with the Philippines as the co-chair in the Gender Mainstreaming Strategic Framework, and the project is expected to be completed by December this year. Women's rights in Malaysia are implicitly recognized and guaranteed in Article 8 of our Federal Constitution of Malaysia. Progressive implementation and measures to eliminate discrimination are being undertaken and are evident from the legislative, judicial, and administrative measures taken by Malaysia to implement the principle of gender equality and non-discrimination against women in Malaysia. Talking about the legislative, in the recent election of Malaysia House of Representatives, we have 3 speakers, and I am, and also the new speaker, Dato' Azhar. The third person is again a woman, Honorable Dato' Sri Azalina Osman. So we have 3 speakers. One of them is a woman. She is the second one after a couple of years back, where the Deputy Speaker of the House of Senate was a woman. Malaysia continues to stand by our commitment to the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. As a signatory to the CEDAW and pledges made in the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, Malaysia is committed to ensuring that women's rights are protected. The 25th anniversary of Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action is of great importance. I would like to give my full support and sincere wish that with the event with a success. I'm looking forward to listening to the voices and ideas that contribute to the overall development of the women in the world. Last but not least, if we look across the world over the past quarter of a century, we see countless achievements by women in almost in all fields. The Chancellor of Germany for the past decade, the UK, New Zealand have seen female prime ministers. Yeah, Malaysia not yet. Malaysia is only deputy prime ministers. Great female architects like Zaha Hadid have designed and built major global landmarks across important cities. Yeah, so those are among my final remarks, and I think one more person worth mentioning is the chairman of the World Habitat, Dato Maimunah Sharif, from Penang, where I was there a few years back, and she still is the World Women Habitat chairman. I think with that, thanks a lot. Thank you. Sisiani, Nandi Wanakkam. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Dato Hassanah. Thank you very much for your wonderful speech and your great support for women's overall development. Thank you very much. And also your SDG knowledge is very impressive. So number 5, we all know, number 5, gender equality. And also amazing women's advancement in Malaysia. Those stories of those incredible women are really inspiring. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to welcome Excellency Miwa Kito, the Director of Operations at the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime Headquarters. Welcome, please, Excellency Miwa Kito, as our next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dato Haji Rashid Hasnon, Deputy Speaker of the Malaysian Parliament House of Representatives, Ms. Angela RM, Director General of the World Women Organization, Mr. Faisal Yusuf, General Secretary of Malaysian Foreign Friendship Alliance, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen from across Asia Pacific and actually around the globe. Good morning to you in Malaysia, and good evening to some of you. It's 3 a.m. here in Vienna, where I am located. But it's a very great honor to join you today. I think in this very challenging year of 2020, where all of us are experiencing very different ways of living and adapting to the world, one good thing that came out is this greater connectivity through virtual platforms. In the past, we would have to choose which conference we can join, which places where we can lend voices together, depending on our availability of time, because the assumption was a physical presence. Some physical presence is necessary for networking and connection, but it's also nice to be able to connect like this throughout the world from my own home at 3 in the morning to hear various perspectives. So thank you very much for the invite. It is a great pleasure, of course, to join you as we commemorate the actual day of the signing of the Beijing Declaration and the Platform for Action, which is still the defining platform and framework to advance gender equality and women's empowerment still today. And so much has been attained over the past quarter of a decade. And so first, I do want to start by saluting all the people, brave women and men who have promoted the spirit of Beijing and translated them into a lot of concrete achievements over this past 25 years. And yet, despite all that, on the whole, if we look at the scorecard, so to speak, of 25 years on after Beijing, the results are nowhere close to where we should be collectively for the promise that we made in Beijing. I would like to quote the statement provided by the Executive Director of UN Women, my previous boss. I used to work with UN Women in Asia Pacific until a few years ago. The Executive Director of UN Women from Zile Melambo Nuka said earlier this month on the 4th of September to begin the commemoration of the Beijing Platform for Action. She said, and I quote, "Equality isn't just 1/4 of seats in the table of power in politics, but that's the current reality of women's representation. Men are 75% of parliamentarians and hold 73% of managerial positions in businesses. And they are 70% of climate negotiators and almost all peace negotiators. Only half is an equal share, and only equal is enough to meet the spirit of Beijing." And this is very true. And I think we need to also keep this point in mind as we celebrate the many achievements of Beijing. And of course, with the current, and these kind of global figures that I just quoted from UN Women also hides behind it major discrepancies in different countries, different sectors. So there's obviously a lot of work to be done, even if we look at this in numerical terms only. And also the inherent inequality that we've been seeing has only been exacerbated and probably will be coming to be much worse with the current challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic and social downturn. So it's very important that we get together today as we commemorate the 25th anniversary of Beijing to find ways and to partner together to find tangible ways that we can make sure that we reflect the spirit of Beijing in finding solutions to come out of the current challenges posed by COVID, as we say, to build back better from COVID. So in that kind of context, I see today's discussion hosted by the WWO and MFFA to be extremely timely and relevant. I appreciate looking at the program, the diversity of speakers you bring from across the world, but also across sectors and perspectives. I think this is very important. Having spent several years of my life night and day on the cause of women's empowerment and gender equality, one thing I've always noticed is that we tend to talk very much among women or among people who are converted. It's of course very important that movement building in terms of the core solidarity of people who were there in Beijing, who have the core spirit of Beijing. But in order for us to see tangible results of change for vast number of women and men around the world for a more gender equal world, it's imperative that we take this topic of women's empowerment and gender equality beyond those who are converted only. So in that spirit, I very much appreciated hearing the statement earlier of the Honorable Dato Haji Rashid Hasnon in linking this into wider state building, economic development, which really obviously isn't just about women, it benefits the whole society, women included. So I was thinking back at myself, so where was I and what was I thinking exactly on this day 25 years ago? So it would be 15th of September 1995. I was in university, I was a student, and I must confess when I look back then I didn't think gender-based discrimination was one of my biggest challenges in life. Being a young person, finishing studies, and looking to see how we design our lives, I did not think, little did I know, that gender perspective was going to have such a big impact. But it also, and it's interesting, I look back later on as I saw this women's empowerment, gender equality to be one of the core areas of my work with the UN. As I analyzed it, it is because there are many different forms that people are privileged or underprivileged. It is true that gender is one among them. And there are, and also if you are in certain cultures where gender-based norms are so built into society, like the one I come from, which is Japan, you don't even notice until you educate yourself how much of unconscious biases there are, to a point where you don't always feel the gender inequality that is around us. So when I look back in the past 25 years, it's been mine, as I'm sure many of yours as well, has been also a journey of learning, of wanting to better understand how we can improve the world for greater number of people in multiple areas. And at every corner I turned, gender was one key aspect, because as the Honorable Deputy Speaker said, how can you improve society in a significant way if you're not taking leveraging and benefiting from half of the world population, in which many of the solutions to our challenges, common challenges, lie. So in that sense, it's interesting to look back the past 25 years and to look at what more we need to be doing. I would like to share with you on this occasion 2-3 areas where I feel that we should be focusing our attention to as we look at the, hopefully not the next 25 years to have to reach the promises of Beijing, but definitely some work ahead in this next 10 years of what we call the decade of action for sustainable development goals in the UN. And I must say, Honorable Deputy Speaker, I was also very grateful and impressed with your centrality your Parliament is placing on achievement of SDGs. And thank you very much for also referring to Goal 5. And also to complement, to say that gender equality is important to achieve all the SDGs, because one part of it is to look at gender equality as an indicator on its own. The other part is to look at how do we achieve the results in all other areas where you do need the gender perspective. So one thing I do feel is that with when it comes to discussions on gender equality and women's empowerment, there are so many topics that we can look at, from health to education, which are, by the way, in aggregate terms, one of the better areas that we've made achievements since Beijing. Although that is not to say that a lot of women and girls need additional attention in these two indicators. But also there's the issue of gender-based violence. There's the issue of various stereotypes and stigmas. So there are so many angles to look at this women's issue that sometimes I feel we are doing too many things and not focusing on and in delivering results on some key areas that will also impact on everything. And to me, those are actually three areas I would like to highlight today as food for thought for our common action, and hopefully as the WWO looks towards its designing of influential programs, I thought I'd share with them. So first is very much, and this very much echoes what the Deputy Speaker has mentioned as well. First is related to improving placement of women and people who bring diversity to leadership positions. This is essential because once you have women, and it's not enough to just have one, it's not enough almost to have 3 out of 10. It is very important to achieve for parity, which is 5 out of 10. I say this with new conviction. I say this really with new conviction, if I may, because of what I learned over the past 5 years. So this is it, because UN has done extensive study on what it is for women to be the only one among 10, right? So 10%. Yes, you're there. But everything you would say would be interpreted as, oh, it's a woman's perspective, when it may or may not be. You could be representing so many perspectives, and yet it will always be labeled as a woman's perspective, and it's very difficult. We, in Beijing Declaration, have said at least 30%, right? At least 30% representation in parliament, in businesses, in school board, everything. Why? Because due to studies, 3 out of 10 is the minimum point where you start seeing women being, or any person of different identity, right? It could be 3 men in a group of 10 women too, right? I'm sure several men have been in that situation too, where you're not the majority, where you're the rare 1 or 2 people in a bigger group of a different identity. You do need certain amount of size to be able not to be attributed on everything in one gender lens, which is the one lens of identity, which is gender. So yes, I come from Japan, where we are really struggling even to get the 10% in our parliament. And I'm very grateful. I think today we have one of our speakers from our parliament, but it is very difficult when you see what people experience when you are a part of the 10%. So at the least, Beijing has said that we should aspire for 30%, and I think that's an immediate objective. But in the UN, under the very strong leadership of our current Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, we have introduced the policy of gender parity, which is really to target between 48% to 52%. So really that 50% mark of parity at all levels with timeline targets and numerical monitoring. And the Secretary General introduced this in autumn of 2017. And I have to say the fact that I am in the position I am is also a direct result of these kind of commitments, which are more than just words. To hold leadership to account, and also to be assessed that what they say is actually realized and that they get credit for it. I think this is very important to introduce in multiple areas. Most important, of course, is political at various levels, from the parliament to local community level representation, because this is where the decisions are taken on water, in education, on businesses, on jobs, on environment. And if you have 50% representation there of women, that will start changing everything else we're talking about. A second element is very much related to it, which is the economic empowerment. And economic empowerment, of course, encompasses multiple things, from having the basic agency, the safety of being able to have a fulfilling, but also decently paid job, and a life that you can depend on licit ways of living. But also, we also need to look beyond the big aggregate data to look at the quality of work, the nature of work, and also unpaid care work, which is still disproportionately borne by women. And then the third area to look at, I would say, with focus, is to change the cultural norms and addressing uncommon biases. You do, like I said about my own example of 25 years ago, there are so many things, even among educated women in privileged position, that you don't even assume some of the inherent biases that are there. And I don't mean to say just about gender. It's about disability, it's about different values. And I think, as our Secretary General is saying, we need to make our institutions, especially public institutions, but also responsible businesses, look more like the people we represent, look more like the people we serve, look more like the people we want to do business with. And it's very important that, as the Deputy Speaker has emphasized, the concept, I think, is about inclusivity and empowerment. And I think that spirit is key as we look for the next years of how do we make the promise of Beijing a reality, to look at these issues not only as what's legitimate and what's an inherent right, as we have emphasized in Beijing 25 years ago, but also and much more as a key and indispensable ingredient for us collectively to meet the challenges that we commonly have, men, women, and everybody in between. And I conclude by saying that I am very honored to be speaking today because I do see among you a lot of people who are decision makers and movers and shakers in our own different fields that we work. And especially the role of parliaments, elected representatives of the people of various countries, government, including the technocratic, bureaucratic structure that supports every government's, society's plan of action, and systems, including big businesses, schools, unions. These institutions have a big role to play in being able to translate this and making this not a lip service issue or a niche issue that only people who are converted feel committed to be saying, but to actually enact policies that actually changes the system. And I think the public institution and big private businesses, small businesses, our institutions' credibility to people is under question because we have not done as much as we should in the past 25 years to meet these opportunities. And I think in this time of COVID and this extreme change in the way we work, in the way we live, in the way we perceive what life expectations are, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to take stock of what we have done, be proud about it, and also look for what we could do more as we try to realize the promise of Beijing and to go the next step so we don't have to wait for another 25 years in order to attain the spirit of inclusiveness and empowerment that we have promised 25 years ago. So thank you very much for the opportunity to connect today. I look forward to hearing everybody's perspective, and hopefully we can agree on concrete actions that we can enact from different corners of the world that we sit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your wonderful speech, Ms. Miwakato. And your focus on leadership are very critical for making Beijing Declaration a reality. Actually, in that regard, UN has been doing a pretty good job. Last year at the CSW conference, the Secretary General of UN, Guterres, he said his current staff at the UN, half of them are women already. And to put women in leadership position is really very critical to make real change. So thank you very much for your wonderful speech. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Padmini Murphy from New York. She is the Secretary General.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
Can I interrupt just for a quick question to Ms. Miwakato?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Ms. Miwakato, thank you for your speech. Noting that you are a Japanese, I used to work in Japan in late 1980s, in 1988 to be exact. I was working with Abiko and Ishii in Chiba Prefecture, and NEC is a very big conglomerate. And I noticed a culture at that time. One of the manager who was with me, he got married, and when he got married, he got a kid. The wife is actually a graduate. Your culture at that time, I don't know whether it's still true or not, she will relinquish not to continue her job, but she has to take care of the family kids of two, I think. How is that culture in Japan now, Ms. Miwakato? If you don't mind, a little bit of sharing.
Of course.
Switch on, Ms. Miwakato.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. I must confess, for the past 20 years, I'm out of the country, so I am very careful what I say about Japan, and I think there may be later speakers from Japan who could take the question if they're connected live. But what I do know from my role as the UN Women's Asia Pacific Regional Director until 2 years ago, also covering Japan, I think that practice is in the culture that underlies it, Deputy Speaker, is still very much there. The expectations are there that when women get married, especially when they have kids, that, that working isn't their first job. And yet at the same time, because of the economic necessity, a lot of women are working, but they're working in underprivileged sectors. They don't have the same rights as men. So there are all these issues. I think the government and the society is trying to change that, but I think there's a lot to do by businesses in terms of the business practices. There's also the legal part, and that's why the 3 points I made also is very relevant for Japan as well, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yes. So now let's welcome our next speaker, Dr. Padmini Murphy, please.
Thank you so much, Honorable Deputy Speaker of Malaysia. Thank you, sir, for your fabulous remarks, and we need more men like you. Thank you, sir. And I had the opportunity of visiting your beautiful country, and hope post-COVID come back. I would also like to thank Ms. Angela RM and Ms. Cesarone for all the work and all protocols observed, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor to give you my remarks from New York, where it is 10:15 p.m. And, you know, this is really a momentous day, not only for women, but for all of us in the global community. And we cannot achieve this without men. So I would really like to thank the Honorable Deputy Speaker of the Malaysian Parliament and all the colleagues and everybody else who is esteemed speakers who are there. So can I request you to show my first slide, please? Thank you. So I would be talking about health. I'm putting on my health hat because I am a physician and a public health expert. And one of the things is that without health, we don't have anything. And the Honorable Minister so eloquently talked about women's empowerment. So SDG 5 and SDG 3 go hand in hand actually with all the SDGs. Sir, you talked about the 17 goals. We can only achieve all the 17 goals when we have women's health and well-being and empowerment. And again, thank you everybody, colleagues from all over the world. This is really amazing. And Jing, I cannot thank you and Angela enough for coming together and crafting this beautiful program where you have everybody come and speak. And as the distinguished speaker before me said, we are online. So it's so great. We can interact with everybody. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I have this slide up, which talks about the SDG 3, which is good health and well-being across all the ages. And I would just like to tell you that, you know, we are looking at target 3.1, which is talking about women, and 3.2, which is children to infancy, and target 3.3 and 3.4, which focus on well-being of the family. If the woman of the house is not well, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, how can we achieve the 12 critical areas of concern in the Beijing Platform of Action, which was put forth 25 years ago? We cannot achieve health without you know, making sure that women are taken care of. And that's why it's so important, like the Honorable Deputy Speaker was talking so eloquently, and all the other honored parliamentarians and decision makers, that you are including women in health as a focus, because without that, it is very, very difficult to move ahead and talk about attaining the SDGs. I am a physician, and one of the things we do in our medical schools here in the United States and in some other countries, we have what is called gender-specific medicine, in which we focus on the various issues which are specifically concerning, you know, which concern women, right from childhood throughout the old age, throughout the cycle. And there is no one shoe which fits all in medicine or public health. That's why it is so important to talk about gender specificity, not only in policies with employment, with education, but with also health. And Miss Angela, when you talked about, you discussed gender harmony so well, and it's so important to have this harmony even when looking at the health of women. And especially, as I said, right from you know, even before a woman is born to when she, you know, and after she's born and throughout her age. That's why one of the most brilliant Nobel laureates, Professor Amartya Sen, has described in his groundbreaking essay, 100 million women are missing, which really, it was way ahead of the Beijing platform, but he kind of talked as to how important it is to focus on women's well-being even before they are born. So can I have my next slide, please? Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, as we look at the 12 critical areas of concern, which were shown before, Jim, thank you so much for showing them. I would just like to talk again about women and health, and also violence against women. Unfortunately, with the recent COVID pandemic, the violence against women has increased so much because of not only have they lost their jobs, their spouses might have lost their jobs, and they have nowhere to run to. That's why UNFPA and UN Women, and with a lot of other NGOs and the private sector, this ties in so well to the social responsibility, are working using modern methods of communication, such as cell phones, pharmacies, and even banks where women go to, because these are essential services, pharmacies and banks during the COVID, which at least were open for a limited time, where they could talk to somebody about the violence or the trouble they were facing. The other issue we have is also pregnant women. When we are talking about maternal health, even though the number of maternal deaths has gone down considerably, one of the biggest challenges we have during COVID is women have not had access to healthcare and well-being. And again, as NGOs, one of my NGOs, American Medical Women, we are looking at video consults to help, to talk to women, so give them advice. And cell phones, as we know, there are so many cell phones all over the world, especially in so many parts of Asia. I'm originally from India, I'm Indian American, and I know that WhatsApp is used so much to communicate, and we have different applications throughout Asia. And this is the way of getting messages across and telling somebody we are there. Because one of the critical things, yes, unfortunately, maybe the progress towards the Beijing Platform of Action has been delayed in achieving some of the targets. But we need to see COVID as an opportunity of how we can increase our communication. That is what we are doing by using all these methods of coming together so well. The other thing I just would like to focus on, which really, in my humble opinion and work experience of almost 30 years working in different areas of health globally, relates to the Beijing Platform of Action and women's issues, are women and environment. For example, in the United States now, in California, we have so many fires burning. You have the COVID, you have the fires, you have flooding in certain other parts. So all this definitely takes its toll on women's health and well-being. And the girl child has become so vulnerable, especially now, because due to COVID, so many girls cannot go to school. And there was a recent UN report which talked about the marriage age of girls, coming down, because parents are so worried and they are getting their girls married even younger. So again, fast forward, teenage pregnancy, increased fistula formation without becoming too technical, increased maternal mortality, increased maternal morbidity, infant mortality. So it's really a vicious cycle. So I think it's really great that what is being done in some parts of the world, when we have men who are championing the causes of women's health and saying we need to address women's health and empowerment. So that's what makes this wonderful document, the Beijing Platform of Action. It's living and breathing. It's like a three-dimensional puzzle. It goes up. because these 12 critical areas of concern tie in so well to the Millennium Development Goals and now the Sustainable Development Goals, because women in power and decision making. Again, I would like to congratulate the Malaysian Deputy Speaker for telling us so clearly about how women in his country are really making strides and they have decision-making power. This is such a nice example for everybody to even look at, and it's a great way of sharing best practices. Next slide, please. So I would just like to, again, this is, you know, every face has an, every number has a face. So just this slide just tells you in picture that what is going on. And one of the issues where we are talking about is employment, which was discussed, is that unfortunately, women are spending 3 times many hours as men in unpaid care and domestic work. This is getting to be a major challenge. And also 740 million women, as we see, work in the informal sector. And these people have been affected because of the COVID crisis. So as a global community, as policymakers, as academicians, as NGOs, the private sector, this is a perfect platform for us to come up to see. And with the great work the WWO is doing and will continue doing on how all this can be incorporated into a seamless platform to advance the Beijing platform of action, so that the next meeting we have at Beijing+30, we also say that post-COVID, these are the gains we've had in spite of the setbacks we've had. So this again is, as I said, it's a multidimensional effort. And when we are talking about health, ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished guests, it's just not health. It's a whole paradigm. It's a whole umbrella with different colors. So we cannot have health without women's empowerment. We cannot have women's empowerment without health. So all the 17 SDGs are interconnected, and they are so well, you know, they fit into the umbrella of the Beijing platform of action, because this was really a forerunner for the SDG, the framework, in my opinion. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, what I think is important, which is teamwork, which you have demonstrated so beautifully, stakeholder cooperation. We have shared some best practices, and using social media. You know, I always tell my students, my medical students and my public health students, is when you want to get the message out, keep it simple, keep it effective, and use different media. That's what we did. We worked with some of our NGO partners to send personal protective equipment to the Navajo Nation, 80,000 of them. The Navajo Nation refers to the Native Americans living in the United States who are living in very terrible circumstances. They do not have access to any kind of personal protective equipment because they often live in isolation. So it is medical students, it is physicians, it is NGOs. We worked with the private sector, the airline industry, pilots who volunteered, so it's teamwork seamlessly. So to go from point A to point B, we all need to have teamwork. And I would like to conclude by saying thank you so much for this opportunity. It was a really an honor and a privilege. And I wish the WWO all the success and look forward to working together as a team. And thank you again, Your Excellency, Deputy Speaker of the Malaysian Parliament. Sir, your remarks were like really set the tone for this meeting. And I wish all my fellow presenters and distinguished guests a good rest of the meeting. Thank you so much. Stay safe, wear a mask, we can beat COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Padmini Murphy. Thank you for your wonderful speech and wonderful work during this special time. Here, I would like to make an announcement about the conference. Earlier, at the beginning of the conference, we came across this unexpected Zoom booming disturbance. That's what the shocking videos at the beginning we saw. So the conference was actually full subscribed, but due to unexpected disturbance, we regretfully closed the public entrance. So a lot of the registered participants may not be able to join us. And if any guest of the speakers is held in the waiting room, please send a message to the host to introduce themselves so we can let them in. This has been happening quite often. Next, I would like to invite the Excellency Mr. Yiping Zhou. He is a special envoy and a special advisor for the World Women's Organization, as well as the former director of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, and also special envoy of the Secretary General of the United Nations for South-South Cooperation. Yeah, now let's welcome our next speaker, Your Excellency, Mr. Yiping Zhou. Thank you for your patience. Now it's your turn. Thank you very much.
All right. Honorable Deputy Speaker of the Malaysian Parliament, His Excellency Datuk Haji Mohd Rashid Hasnan, Director General Angela RM of the World Women Organization, and Jinzao Duan, the Secretary for this event, and my former colleague Miwa, and friends and colleagues, greetings from Shanghai and China. It is really my great honor and pleasure to join you online to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform Action that was adopted in Beijing back in 1995, which is the reason we are here today to celebrate. I felt so honored first when I was invited by Angela to speak at this monumental event as her special envoy and the organization's chief advisor. And now when I see such a grand assembly of leaders, global leaders and champions in women and development from all corners, many of whom are my former colleagues, it makes me so extremely humbled for lacking of both the relevant knowledge and practical experiences in this area. However, gender equality and inclusiveness in all spheres of political, economic, and social development had always been important components in the UN's South-South agenda when I was director and envoy of the SG on South-South Cooperation. As you may not know, I had actually personally launched a very important initiative. It is called 1 Million Business Women Online back in year 2010, which I hope that the World Women Organization could now pick up and help reshape its future in the years ahead. Colleagues, we are here to celebrate the achievements of the Beijing conference, to reflect on our lessons and experiences, to reshape our new agenda, and to recommit to making the World Women Organization a real global champion for promoting the sustainable development for women worldwide. When I say we, I meant more for and by you, since you are the true leaders and champions in women and sustainable development, who will do all the job today and share with us your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom, and your perspectives during the rest of the day and tomorrow. And so I will not make a long speech, but just to make a few remarks. First, my salute to Malaysia. I was fortunate to have had the fullest support from the government of Malaysia through her permanent mission to the United Nations during my entire time as the director of the UN Office for South-South Cooperation and the envoy of the UNSG, Ban Ki-moon, on South Cooperation. Malaysia is one of the world's greatest leaders and champions in promoting South-South Cooperation and multilateral development. I can recall with nostalgia very good old days working with Malaysia and other member states at the UN. And I still recall that the very first work we did with Malaysia and under the leadership of the permanent representative to the UN of the Malaysian mission was to reset at the time the UN's South-South cooperation vision for the MDG back in 2000. We also established together the UN Day on South-South cooperation back in 2004. The resolution was adopted in 2003, but we celebrate first South-South Day in 2004. And we also launched together the first UN Global South-South Development Forum back in 2008 with the full support of the Malaysian mission and the government. And that forum continued until today. We also created together the UN system-wide South-South coordination mechanism in 2013 and embarked upon a very short journey to achieve the SDG back in 2015. And so these are not just memories. These are landmarks of friendship. And these are times when we truly promote the agenda for South cooperation. Now we are teaming up again. And I'm so honored and thrilled to promote the agenda for women inclusiveness and sustainable development. And Malaysia is taking over the helm of WWO could not be a better exhibition of her strong leadership and commitment to multilateralism, to South-South cooperation, and to sustainable development of women worldwide. As you just heard from Honorable Deputy Speaker of the Malaysian Parliament, His Excellency Dr. Haji Rashid Hasnan, a highly respected global leader of mine. And I just heard him saying that gender equality, inclusiveness, and sustainable development is not only an obligation and responsibility, but it is a commitment, it is a common commitment. And I also heard him saying that the Malaysian's first Deputy Prime Minister is now a female, and the third Deputy Speaker of the House of the Parliament is also female. So I think Malaysia has truly, from the policymakers' point of view, has now truly put women in the policy making and decision making place. And I'm so proud of Malaysia's achievement. And also, I think the leadership of the parliament, the leadership of the government has made Malaysia shine globally in the area of women empowerment and equality. And I'm also very happy to hear that in terms of job security, 50% of the workhouse in Malaysia are now women. And he also said, I recall, I just noted, that women is half of the society. And I think the Chinese also have a saying that women hold up half the sky. So when you have women sharing the half of the society and hold up the half of the sky, and I think that truly means that what Angela is now promoting, gender harmony, is all means harmony with society. And I think at the end, I would say that we are the New World Women Organization is now moving from gender equality to gender harmony. And that could be our new vision. Because when we talked for years, even before the Beijing conference, we talked about gender empowerment, we talked about women's rights, we talked about equality. We were basically talking about or have the perception that women and men are two, and we have to make equal. But what Angela is saying now, men and women are one, not two. It's not about equality, it's about harmony. So I really, really wanted to congratulate Malaysia taking over the helm of the organization. And I'm so proud that Angela is now leading the New World Women Organization. So let me turn to the second congratulations. My congratulations to Angela M for becoming the first, and the youngest Asian female to head the New World Women Organization. Congratulations to you, Angela. I was indeed thrilled by learning that you were elected last year as the Director General of the organization. As you know, I know Angela for quite some time. And actually, I saw her growing. I watched her growing professionally when I was at the UN. And especially, I understand why she is so committed and compassionate and committed to the agenda. It is not because she herself is a female, but she was inspired and encouraged personally by our beloved late Secretary General Kofi Annan. And I think since the first encounters with the SG, that gender empowerment, gender harmony is already now in her blood. And so since taking the SG or the DG of the World Women Organization, Angela has been persistently asking me a few questions, very important questions. What is WWO? Where does it really come from? Where does it want to go? And how we might get there together. But after working with her in the past, and after her taking the position as a DG, and listening to her from time to time, I know that Angela knows all the questions to yesterday's WWO. But the reason that she has now assembled such a global event to celebrate what world promised, committed to doing at the Beijing Women Conference is to have everybody, to unify everybody in harmony, to think hard and find the answers to tomorrow's World Women Organization. So I think this is the reason we are here today. So I think what I would, I also know Angela biblically believed that the only way to advancing women's overall and sustainable development is to help them realize their fullest potentials in all aspects and at all stages of development, and to have the equal rights and opportunities, health, in education, in science and technology, in environment, and in governance. And let me stress what she said this. We have to do all of this within, not without a peaceful, congenial, mutually supportive, and sustainable community at both local and global levels. So let's support her leadership and help her to help us all. I had prepared a third point, that is to say a few things about China and gender achievement. But it seems that I'm running out of time, and I also looking at the list, we have quite many speakers also from China, and I leave that opportunity to them to share with you what China has accomplished since the Beijing Declaration in the areas of women development, and especially achieving gender harmony, as Angela said. So I will leave that to my colleagues during the rest of the day. And what I would like to probably leave with you today is that I want everybody, as I said, to support our new Director General of the World Organization and her mission, her vision, and let's do not leave her alone. And my commitment is that we are with you, I'm with you, and I want you to succeed, and I want women around the world to succeed. So what I would like to mention for the rest of the day, and of course there are a few things that we must do now, is that first, I think from looking at the agenda, we have first a new, we have to think about the new World Women Organization's vision. And of course, I think Ron has at the beginning highlighted the mission and vision of the World Women Organization, which I fully agree. I fully agree and fully support. But can we imagine working from now on towards developing a new World Women Vision 2045? Think about that. This year is also the 75th anniversary of the UN Charter. And I do think that the member states and the peoples of the United Nations are thinking about a UN Vision 2045. I hope that will come. And so we have to align the vision, long-term vision of the new World Women Organization with the UN's vision, with the member states' vision. And so that's what I want to propose, probably the Secretariat and the member state, or our member states of the organization, and also today our specialists are thinking about a new World Women Organization's Vision 2040. And to make sure that we are truly moving from gender equality to gender harmony. And let's explain that. The second is that let's also focus on what from now on we should do. So I look at the agenda, and I think we're talking about the World Women's Conference on Sustainable Development 2021. And let's start to shape its agenda, along with the vision which Angela, the DG, has just given us. And let's work hard on that. It doesn't matter where this conference is held. Of course, I think China would love to host it. but we let the decision be made by the member states, by the World Women Organization. We have to work on that as well. And to do that, probably the first thing we could do is that let's also help the APEC, during the APEC 2020 in November, which is going to be hosted by Malaysia. Let's start from Asia. Let's see how Asian organizations, especially governments and private sectors, would like the World Women Organization to go. And let's do two things. One is to show and to exhibit what they have accomplished in this area, and also discuss what's the future for the WWO. And the third thing I would like to say is that I very much like what Miwa mentioned earlier, that we have to think about a post-COVID-19 environment and how to make the sustainable development movement also consistent with what the environment is going to provide us. And on that point, I now know why Angela, before the COVID-19, last year, she proposed to create a Women Connect called W Connect. And now I think she was already thinking about that. So let's reconnect women online beyond this conference, but think about how our business women can be connected around the world. So this reconnect or W Connect is something we should also focus on. And I think Honorable Deputy Speaker mentioned in his speech, he was talking about the Beijing Declaration is one, but what was more important was the Beijing Platform for Action. So probably this reconnect can be a platform for action. So, and lastly, I would like to also propose that this is also Angela's idea, that the World Women Organization should have a World Women Business Academy created for capacity building and for job creation worldwide. So I think that is also a great proposal. But following the celebration, of course, we in China would also have a special session this afternoon. What I would like to close, I would probably only say a few words to close my my remarks. Well, as Miwa Kato just said, since the future of women is the future of humankind, and the Honorable Deputy Speaker also said that gender equality and the empowerment of women is not only a responsibility, but it is our common commitment. And so let us just recommit to the cause which we set back 25 years ago in Beijing, and moving forward with a new vision, which Angela has now laying down for us. And I do believe that together we will be able to accomplish what the world expects us. And thank you all for listening, and I would also join you more for the rest of the day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. Zhou Yuping. Thank you very much for your continuous and tremendous support for the World Women Organization, and also for your guidance. Your experience and expertise is very critical for the advancement of the World Women Organization. Thank you very much. And I would also like to wish you have a successful event in China this afternoon. in Beijing and Shanghai. Thank you for your great support. Next, let's please welcome Mr. John Allen, who is the former director of the Business Council for the United Nations. Please.
Thank you very much. Okay, first of all, I'm very honored to be part of this conference. I'm particularly pleased Malaysia sponsoring this because Malaysia is a country that I know well. I respect and admire the people and the country very much. So I thank you for participating. Now, there are two things that I've learned recently that are very important. The first is that this is the best time in history to be a woman. Now, I'm not a woman, but I am extremely lucky to be associated with some of the wonderful women on this conference, with Angela RM, and also all of the women who are speaking at this conference. I'm enormously impressed. I also respect the words of wisdom from the Honorable Deputy Secretary of the Parliament of Malaysia, as well as some of the other male speakers. I've learned a lot and I endorse everything that they're saying. But one thing that the first conference 25 years ago said, it had a call for action. Now, some of the actions that I'm going to recommend are at warp speed, because technology today is advancing at warp speed. Now, one of the other lessons I've learned was that technology will drive the future of humanity. And whoever controls that technology will control the destiny of humanity. In one sense, if you look at things like our cell phone, if you can see my cell phone, I don't know if you can see this, okay, the cell phone, or the iPhone, was first introduced only 13 years ago in 2007. And 20, yes. And now it is a universal instrument of both communications and information. An astounding opportunity for the world. One of the goals that we should have is to make this instrument available to every human being on Earth. And we can do it now. Now, whereas these technologies are extremely valuable for the future of humanity, some technologies are not. For example, we have 3 nation states and the heads of those nation states who are vying with each other to have the most destructive and the most powerful militaries in the world. This is not compatible with the benign future of civilization. And now I want to refer back to something that Sir James Wolfenson, then head of the World Bank, said at the previous Beijing conference. He said, the 21st century is the century of women leaders. Without this, the world will not survive. So I call today for the women leaders at this conference, as well as worldwide, to begin to step up to the leadership that is required to make a difference to some of these, to the use of some of these technologies. The anthropologist Margaret Mead said, a few people can change the history of the world. In fact, that's the only way that it ever happened. So this is what we can do today, is to begin to change the history of civilization. And one way to do it, which you will find, which will think is absolutely a crazy idea, but also remember that Albert Einstein said, an idea, at first it doesn't sound crazy, is probably not a good idea. So here it is. I think that if you look at the whole history of what civilization has done, we've always called upon a council of advisors. And these are people usually who are the wisest and the most experienced in that particular tribe or that particular time in civilization. So I think today we must do the same thing. We must create a global council made up of some of the most powerful, wealthiest, wisest, and most influential people in the world. Because only by having such a council can we influence the current leaders of our nation states just to do the right thing. Because otherwise, I fear that we are headed toward a society of mutual destruction, destruction. And so therefore, this council that we're calling upon will have the same type of members as did the original writers of the US Constitution and the original creators of the United Nations Charter. In those cases, it was, we the people of the United States, and in the second case, it was we the people of the United Nations. So we need a third platform that says, we the people of the world. And this council, and the initial membership, will have the same recognition as the creators of those other two documents, except in this case, it will have a minimum of 25 very, very influential and powerful people who collectively can change the course of the world. But each one of those representatives must have three components. One is people under the age of 30. The second is people from 30 to 60. And the third is from 60 until later parts of life. Only then can we represent the present, the past, and the future. All of these representatives can be part of any part of society, any nation, any gender, any company, any financial institution, so that collectively we can change the world. And we are prepared to do this right now. And we are prepared to do it with the kind of lemon leadership that in evidence tonight. So, as John Kennedy said, if not us, when? If not us, who? If not now, when? So let's start now and we will make it happen. So thank you very much. And my apology for the problems with the, with the sound and the video.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much, Mr. John Allen. Thank you. And actually, for using the cell phone to Zoom you in during this difficult situation is a good example of your speech technology, cell phone technology. And also, thank you very much for saying today is the best time to be a woman. And we will be very engaged in not just gender equality, but gender harmony, and also for your crazy ideas. We will see how we can collaborate to make that a great ideas for the betterment of the world. Let's please welcome next.
This is Michael, another Japanese speaker. I'm now from Tokyo. Before, I have the video, so could you turn it on, please? Excellencies, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, this is Maiko Tajima, a member of the House of Councillors in Japan. It is a great honor today to join this conference to commemorate the declaration of the Beijing conference today and its impact that the platform for action has made for gender equality worldwide. The roles that the women play in a society, as you know, are too important to miss. East or west, north or south, cultural differences do not matter, as my 13 years of experience with the United Nations as humanitarian officer taught me. For example, women give birth to life, as I'm also a mother of a 4-year-old child. Just borrowed his toy today with his permission. Also, women are key to eradicate poverty, as the mothers I met in Madagascar, South Africa clearly show the links to poverty. There's also hope in that sense. And women drive social change hand in hand with men, as I see the courage every day in a Congress. And the roles of women are becoming even more important globally, as the COVID-19 pandemic is hitting the society, hitting very hard. I think, as you know, 20 million are the confirmed cases, and we have lost some 900,000 lives so far. It is obvious that the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting all parts of the world, and the life of women during this pandemic time are not exception to these changes. During this difficult time, women are often the victims of the domestic violence. Likewise, when the economic situation gets worse, it is always the women and young people who are hit the hardest, as they earn less, save less, and have more insecure jobs. But at the same time, there is a hope. Women are driving social change. As the mother that I met in Japan handled the serious shortage of masks during the pandemic time by creating these handmade masks for their families and children, friends. And this reaction was much faster than the government of Japan decided to distribute washable masks to all households in Japan. And as everyone knows, the status of women in Japan is limited, actually quite limited in my opinion. And this is quite ironic, as our economic power and probably the influence in the world is not proportionate to the status of women. For the famous gender gap index prepared by the World Economic Forum, Japan was ranked at 121st out of 153 countries in 2019. And in 2018, Japan was ranked at 110th. So it's actually a drop of 11 positions. It's getting worse. Education and health have been accredited highly, but the economic and political participation and empowerment are close to bottom. So why is the status of women so challenging in Japan? A closer look to the analysis show that the parliamentary positions, ministerial positions that the women in Japan hold are limited. I experienced this challenge myself last year when I decided to run for the election. It was not easy. And also that the gender wage gap is wide, as it's still quite challenging for women to get a contract that pays as equally as it does to men. And still that few women hold directorial managerial positions in business and management. So in 2019, I decided to leave the United Nations because I wanted to tackle this challenge from inside internally. Now, Japan is facing multiple serious gaps and problems that hinder the potential growth of the country. And I know gender equality is key to fill these gaps. Empowerment of women helps find solutions to these domestic problems more effectively in Japan. Here, let me highlight 2 examples to see how empowerment of women helps find solutions. First, the most worrying gap that the country is facing is the one between birth and death. Birth continue to drop and total number of deaths is increasing. In 2019, for example, it is estimated that the country lost about 500,000 people. It's a lot. And this rapidly shrinking population is posing various structural changes in a society, such as a nationwide pension scheme or declining tax revenues in small cities or a lack of labor force in local communities. So a woman who's educated and well in Japan do not want to spend her entire life just focused on giving birth, raising children. We would like to have a profession that is worth a life and also family. So the policy and the mind of older political leaders are not so up to date in this field, and we need to make a soft landing to this rapidly shrinking population. Here, reflecting the voice of women in a national policy priority is key. Second, also the gap between poor and the rich also requires quick, strong remedies. The Abenomics strategy and aggressive monetary easing and fiscal spending led by the Prime Minister Abe lasted for 8 years. This led to stable stock price in the markets. On one hand, it made the already vulnerable even more vulnerable. Data show that 1 in 7 children suffers from poverty in Japan, and many of these are single-headed households. Of course, the majority of those are women. The effects of the COVID-19 pandemic are making poor people even more poor, and addressing the poverty through the gender lens helps tackle these problems more effectively. So here again, women are key to eradicate poverty in Japan, I believe. And not only the status of women, social recognition for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, LGBT is also quite limited in Japan. For example, same-sex marriage is not legalized at national level, and many LGBT people choose not to disclose their sexual orientation at school, work, or even with the family. And I think it's a very sad thing. On October 9th this month, together with my colleagues in the upper house and lower house colleagues, we delivered our proposal to the Minister of State for Gender Equality of Japan. It was our response to their government's 5th National Plan for Gender Equal Society. In this proposal, we requested the government's concrete and swift actions in the following areas, such as the women and children should lead and participate in COVID-19 response planning and decision making, including the areas of domestic violence and social protection schemes. And thorough evaluations should take place to critically reflect upon the advancement of the LGBT issues and gender equality since the Beijing conference in 1995 and the establishment of Basic Act for Gender Equality, Equal Society in Japan in year 2000. And gender mainstreaming and SDG5 should be key to any area of national plans and strategies. So gender equality has been and will be my priority and a source of aspiration in my career as a member of the House of Councilors in Japan. Women need to be empowered more in this country, and women need to be inspired more in Japan. We should create a society in a world that the woman feels proud of being a woman, as self-respect is key to all, including LGBTs. Today, I'm very, very delighted to join this conference and very excited to see the discussions. And next year, I hope that we achieve the victory in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. And I do look forward to seeing you all, not just online, but at the actual conference site next year. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your wonderful speech.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you very much, and for being with us as well. Thank you very much. And I like your notion that we'll celebrate and be proud of being a woman. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Yes. Okay. Next, we have Excellency Ahmet Mujahid Arisi. He is a member of the Parliament of Turkey.
Dear participants, I would like to salute courageous and strong women of the world from the Grand National Assembly of Turkey. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here. At such a critical moment in the global fight against COVID-19, we are gathered online together in the celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. As 2020 marks the 25th anniversary of the most advanced and wide-ranging strategic plan for the achievement of women's rights in countries and regions across the world, I'm honored to be part of this online event. I would also like to thank the chair for choosing the theme of this year as Each for Equal, calling on us all to remember our individual responsibility to contribute towards the creation of a fairer and more equal world. The Beijing Platform for Action remains as relevant today as it was when it was adopted at the Fourth World Conference on Women in 1995. As you all know, in Beijing, women gathered from around the world and from all walks of life to commit to a bold agenda for gender equality and women's empowerment. Since that day, the groundbreaking Beijing Platform for Action has been a strong guide to light our way. The Beijing Platform for Action remains as relevant today as it was on the historic day of its adoption. We still have a long way to go to full implementation, as no country has achieved full gender equality yet. The Republic of Turkey has got exceptional and unique experience on the status of women and the studies performed in order to empower women in the society. It's possible to see the reflections of this historical experience in all the decisions taken and policies pursued today in relation to the advancement and empowerment of women. Among the reforms which were realized in the years following the establishment of the Republic of Turkey in 1923, two are the most prominent ones. The Law on Unity of Education in 1924, which enabled women to have equal education opportunities with men by gathering education under one system. And the Turkish Civil Code adopted in 1926, which provided equal rights for women both within the family and as an individual by completely changing the legal status of women. In addition to this, another significant stage in equalizing the legal status of women with men is the gaining of political rights. Turkish women were entitled with the right to elect and be elected in local elections in 1930 and in the general elections in 1934, earlier than many of the Western countries. Activities are continued in our national legislation based on the UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, notably, and the provisions of the Council of Europe Convention on Preventing and Combating Violence Against Women and Domestic Violence, the European Social Charter, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the decisions and recommendations of organizations such as the EU, ILO, OECD, OSCE, Action Program of the 4th World Conference Women and Beijing Declaration, and the Action Plan of Cairo International Conference on Population and Development. Dear participants, after underlining some milestones of women's rights in Turkey, I would like to inform you about present situations of Turkish women on participation in business life. Women's participation into labor force and employment is an important element of sustainable development. Ensuring sustainability in economic growth, achieving social development and social justice in the full sense can be possible only through full and equal participations of women and men into all spheres of life as executors and beneficiaries of human-oriented sustainable development. In order to raise women's social status and promote their participation into development, it is of significant importance to enhance the indicators of education, health, social security, and ensure equality between women and men, legally and in practice. In this respect, increasing employment via active labor force policies has become significant with the 8th five-year development plan. The active labor force policies aimed at increasing employability by improving the skills and efficiency of the labor force comprised of labor force training, education, and labor force orientation programs, availability of occupational counseling and guidance, developing job search strategies, employment of disadvantaged groups such as the unemployed, disabled, women and youth, entrepreneurship trainings and employment guaranteed training programs. In the 10th development plan, it stated that women's participation in business life, especially via education and promotion of their social participation, is one of the important factors that would influence the economic and social development of countries. And if the education industry cooperation policies aimed at qualified labor force are strengthened with the precautions to increase women's labor force participation, Turkey has the potential to get the best of the demographic opportunities. With the improvement of education levels, increasing employability with acting labor force policies, facilitation and encouraging of entry into labor market, it's foreseen that the rate of labor force participation would increase 5.3% during the 10th development plan period, and women are expected to be the main determinant of this increase. Besides the issues of increasing the rates of women's labor force, participation and employment are specifically included among the objectives of the program on activation of labor market, which is one of the priority transformation programs. Accordingly, the rates of women's labor force participation and women's employment in the plan period are expected to increase 34.9% and 31% respectively. Also, in the National Employment Strategy, it was aimed that women's labor force participation will be increased to 41% by 2023, and the informal employment to be decreased to 30%. The new economic programs include the provision incentives shall be developed for ensuring participation of young people and women in labor force in order to ensure implementation of active labor force programs, which focus on target groups, sector, region, and helping employment of them. Also, it's seen that the specific topics on women's employment are included by the 100-day action plans published by the Turkish presidency, providing an additional grant of 1,084 million Turkish liras for ensuring more participation of women, youth, and disabled, encouraging women's employment through moderate work project. The strategy has been built on 4 main policy pillars and sector policies in order to accomplish the aforementioned targets. Main policy pillars in the strategy are defined as strengthening the connection between education and employment, ensuring the security and flexibility in the labor market. Increasing employment of groups requiring special policies, strengthening the connection between employment and social protection. Dear participants, violence against women and girls remains one of the most widespread, persistent, and devastating human rights violations in our world today. It occurs worldwide, cutting across all nationalities, ethnicities, generations, and spheres of our societies. At its most extreme, it takes lives and ruins communities. Every day, 137 women across the world are killed by intimate partners or other family members. The killing of women by their partners is often the culmination of long-term violence and can be prevented. I'm proud to say that Turkey was the first country to ratify unanimously in 2012 the Council of Europe Convention on Preventing and Combating Violence Against Women and Domestic Violence. Known as the Istanbul Convention, it provides a comprehensive framework to prevent violence, protect survivors, and prosecute perpetrators, backed by coordinated and comprehensive policies and allocated resources. In line with the global standards set out in the UN Convention on the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. On behalf of my government and my country, I say, we stand ready to continue supporting the civil society, including women organizations and all relevant stakeholders in their efforts to eradicate violence against women and girls. These include further strengthening the legal framework and its implementation, improving services for survivors, and addressing its root causes by tackling wider gender inequalities and challenging gender stereotypes, hate speech and attitudes that lead to discrimination and condone and incite violence. With 10 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, in line with the commitment to leave no one behind of the agenda in 2030. And as we mark the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, all members of society, each and every one of us, can help to stop this preventable global scourge and to create a world free from violence against women and girls. Thank you all for your time and attention. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arisi, and thank you for all the efforts and the work you've done in your country for women. Our next speaker, we would like to invite Your Excellency Faza Yusa. He is a General Secretary of the Malaysia Foreign Friendship Alliance. I would like to give special thanks to him for supporting World Women Organization, working with us to provide tremendous support for the conference and for World Women Organization. Thank you very much. Very special thank you for all your support. Now, please go ahead. Thank you.
Very good morning to especially my boss, Haji Wadbabi Datuk Haji Rashid Hasnon, the Deputy Speaker of Malaysian Parliament, Angela RM, Jing Zhao Shizaroni, Your Excellencies, all the speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to congratulate all the ladies of the world for the stride that you have made on women welfare and rights. We know that it has not been easy and much work still needs to be done. But remember that what you do is not only for womankind, but for all humanity. In Malaysia, our government have set a target to lift the glass ceiling. As an example, to ensure the stronger representation, there is a target to increase the number of women in government position. Also, much work is being done to encourage higher women representation in the corporate world. Much work still needs to be done, but with a determination and a clear vision, we have no doubt we can continue to make further gains towards a gender harmony. Many of us live in a time and place where we never experienced the horrors and the tragedies of war and conflict. And because of this peace, we experience the biggest leap in economic and a scientific development in the history of humankind. And much women's rights were successfully attained during this period of time. This prolonged peace was only achieved by the hard work by those who came before us to create a world environment and structure where peace is possible. All of us, no matter man or woman, we need to continue to work hard to ensure that we leave a better world for our children than the one we inherited. For me, as a father who has 4 daughters, of course, I have same hopes as a World Women Organization. Hopes to see a better future for them when they become a woman in the future. A better life opportunities, a better economic opportunities, a better job opportunities, and all hopes to be without discrimination for the woman. At the Malaysian Foreign Friendship Alliance, our aims is to foster peace and cooperation. It is therefore our objective to promote a dialogue, cooperation, and the friendship between Malaysian and all people of all the nation. Being located at the meeting point between East and Southern Asia, and populated by a people of 3 prominent cultures, not to mention many different religions, with a healthy dose of insight towards a multiracialism and multiculturalism, we know we can contribute towards global peace and cooperation. We believe that both genders have an equal role to play toward a peace and cooperation. And we are certain that women will play a more important role towards this end in the future. Therefore, we are proud to be working with the World Women Organization for an Asia-Pacific Women Leadership Summit. We will share the detail of the summit as soon as it becomes available. I hope to see you all there when the time comes. The 25th anniversary of Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action is of great importance. I would like to give my full support and sincerely wish the event success. I'm looking forward to listening to the voice and ideas that contribute to the overall development of the women in the world. Again, I would like to congratulate all the World Women Organization on successful celebration. Thank you and peace to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your wonderful, wonderful remarks. And most importantly, thank you for your strong support for World Women Organization. Without your support and also the support of our Deputy Speaker's Office of the Malaysia Parliament, we wouldn't be here today. Your special support for the, for the conference, today's conference, and going forward will help us to make a difference in the world, and will help us achieve the goal of gender harmony and achieve the goal of women's overall development. And our Director General, Angela, would like to say a few words here as well, please.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you, all speakers, my dear friends. Especially thank dear Honorable Dato Rashid, Deputy Speaker of Parliament of Malaysia. I would like to announce we will work with Malaysia Foreigner Friendship Alliance to hold Asia Pacific Leader Summit during APEC in Malaysia. Let's looking forward to summit coming. Thank you.
So next, we are
Can
very
I speak
happy.
a little bit? Can I just?
Yes, please.
Can I
yes.
speak just a little bit, just one point?
Please go ahead. Yes.
You know, Mr. Faisal was mentioning about she has 4 daughters and 4 kids. They are all girls. Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
Wonderful.
especially mentioned it. You have to make mention about 4 girls.
Oh,
it could be
okay.
five girls maybe. I'm not sure. But he has that motivation to make sure that the next generation, especially women, will probably be part of the harmony in gender, to also make a good leadership. This is that's part of motivation for him. Yeah, Faisal. All right.
Oh.
Okay. All the best to all of women of the world. Thank you.
Wonderful. I even have one less daughter. I have 3 daughters, but I'm just as driven. I have 3 daughters, but I'm just as driven as you to build a better world for the future, for future for women.
And whether it's the boys or girls, is God-given, isn't it? So
yes, yes.
we have to make that. I have 4 girls, 1 boy. I have all 5. So
wow.
Girls rule my house.
Of course.
Thank you.
But our Director General, Angela, said it right. Men and women are one. That's what we see, gender harmony. In harmony, they are one. So we are. So next we have Excellency Dorina Biaggi, the former Deputy Minister for Cultural Assets and Activities and the Tourism of Italy.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Dorina Bianchi, an Italian physician who has also served the Italian Parliament for 2 decades. We are here today at this important conference to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action for Women's Rights. The other night, I was watching different videos of that day when the declaration was signed, and I was fascinated by the outstanding participation of women coming from all over the world celebrating their unitedness. It warmed my heart also seeing many men from different institutions supporting that important day. As the World Women Association always reminds us, it is of crucial importance that men accompany women in each and every step forward towards a world where gender balance is finally reached. Despite this enthusiasm, after 25 years from that day, data presented this year on March the 5th at the United Nations are clear. We are still far from equal rights. Progress in equality has gone forward, yet there is no country throughout the world where equality has been reached. 75% of parliamentarian seats are occupied by men. 73% of CEO are men. Women receive lower salaries, are fired more often, and are more loaded by family and professional responsibilities. In addition to that, women still have little role in media and communication. But the most alarming thing is that there is no country in the world free from violence against women. I come from a country, Italy, where a lot has been achieved in the last 25 years. I was glad to play an active role in a parliamentarian team that has developed awareness on several issues concerning women. The regulatory framework has deeply changed. Several laws regarding women's health have been approved, especially for pregnancy and the recognition of illnesses such as endometriosis. Also, a lot has been done to prevent and protect women at work, from the approval of parental leave to the banning of dismissal during pregnancy. Also, we can see some significant development in the protection of women from violence. On stalking, for example, we have a new law called Red Code, which guarantees that the victims are listed from the official authorities within 3 days. We also have reached the cancellation of all mitigations in support of the assassins guilty of femicide. Nevertheless, in Italy, the average gender gap index is of 70%, which sees women employment rate at 50%, while men at 68%. This leads us to a question: how to reach 50% and 50%? How to reach an equal democracy? I think that we need to promote together concrete actions in order to regenerate the social net and people's habit. We need to introduce gender balance in the wealth index of each country as a tool that allows us to develop the promotion of equal opportunities. I appreciate very much the proposal of an Italian jurist who intends to give a sort of a 50-50 sticker to those virtuous companies, institutions and universities that are moving forward to this direction. A sort of sticker that also the World Women Organization could give at international level. In conclusion, I wish to thank the World Women Organization and its determination to reach the goals of equality, development and peace for all women in the interest of all humanity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I saw Mr. Tomabich is is online right now. Maybe let's have him speak first. So next, we have Your Excellency Masato Tomabichi, the Director of Secretary's General Affairs Bureau for House of Representatives of Japan.
大家好，我姓 Tomabichi， 名字叫 Masato。日本众议院就和北京宣言和行动纲要25周年庆典，在这里，我将以中文向大家给予美好的祝福。由于新冠肺炎传播，这次纪念活动在网上举行，我要感谢所有参与筹备工作的人。此外，我还要重新感谢我的老朋友世界妇女组织的总干事安哥拉给我提供发言的机会。世界妇女组织在她的领导下，积极发挥女性是人类的一个重要的组成群体，关注和推动社会的共同可持续发展，包括妇女、青年、孩子等，这是一个包容的使命，非常值得尊重和期待。25年前，即1995年9月份，在中国北京 举办第4届世界妇女大会。从日本不仅有政府官员参加，而且还有 NGO 等民间组织的约5000人参加。参加北京会议的许多妇女一直活跃在诸如性骚扰受害者的积极活动和对日本妇女的就业支持等领域。北京会议促进了许多妇女在日本社会中变得更加活跃。但是，即使在北京会议之后的25年，也必须说，在日本，女性高干的任命，特别是日本政府、议会和企业中的任命，尚未得到提升，这是一种遗憾和反思。举一个简单的例子，日本众议院465名议员中，只有47名是女性的议员，仅占女性议员10%多一点点。在世界195个国家中，排名第165。在这种情况下，如果您查看国会议员会议办公室的每个议员的办公室，其中大多数都有女秘书。从这个意义上说，日本国会中的女性议员虽然人数非常少，但是如果没有女秘书，可以说国会无法开展工作。通过这种方式，女性在日本政治世界中扮演着重要角色。如今，由于新冠病毒的影响，我认为就该像25年前的北京会议那样开国际会议仍然很困难。但是在新冠病毒结束后，我希望像安哥拉总干事、年轻一代领导人再次举行世界妇女大会，以女性促进共同发展。谢谢。
This is the English voiceover for Ms. Tomabechi's speech in Chinese at the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration held by WWO. Hello everyone, my name is Masato Tomabechi. On the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, I would like to extend my best wishes to you in Chinese. Due to the COVID-19 global pandemic, this celebration event is being held online. Therefore, I want to thank all those involved in the preparatory work of this online event. In addition, I would like to sincerely thank you, my old friend Angela R.M., Director General of the World Women Organization, WWO, for giving me the opportunity to speak. Under her leadership, the WWO pays attention to and promotes the sustainable development of society, including women, youth, and children. This is an inclusive mission, which is worthy of respect and expectation. 25 years ago, in September 1995, the Fourth World Women Conference was held in Beijing, China. On the Japanese side, participants included not only government officials, but also non-governmental organizations, the NGOs, and non-profit organizations, the NPOs. A large amount of Japanese female participants have been active in areas such as supporting activities for victims of sexual harassment and employment support for Japanese women. The Beijing Declaration promoted women to become more active in Japanese society. However, even 25 years after the Beijing Declaration, the appointment of female executives, especially in the Japanese government, parliament, and private companies, had not been promoted. This is a pity and a phenomenon worth of reflection. To take a simple example, only 47 of the 465 members of the House of Representatives of Japan are women, accounting for only 10.1%, ranking 165th among 195 countries in the world. However, if you look at the congressional offices, most of them have female secretaries. This is to say, although there are very few female members of the parliament cannot function normally without female secretaries. Therefore, women still play an important role in Japan's political world. Due to the impact of the COVID-19, it is still very difficult to hold an international conference like the Beijing Conference 25 years ago. But after the end of the coronavirus pandemic, I hope that the younger generation of leaders, like Director General Angela, will hold another World Women Conference to promote the common development of women. Thank you.
Thanks for the wonderful speech as well. Let's go to our next speaker. Next, we have Your Excellency Christiana Bokepa Edveland. She is the consultant of Ministry of Family and Social Affairs of Benin. Please welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Angela, Director General of World Women Organization, Honorable Mr. Maud Rashid Hasnan, Deputy Speaker of Parliament of Malaysia, Excellencies, friends and colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations for this great conference marking the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. I am very edified by the brilliant interventions that precede mine. It is really a great honor to have the opportunity of being part of this big forum. I thank especially Angela for her trust in me and her invitation. I am also persuaded that the concept of gender harmony will assure a better collaboration from men. It takes a kind of social agreement based on mutual understanding and tolerance in order to strive for harmonious opportunities. I have come to express a heart call towards women in peacekeeping. Over the two past decades, Africa has recorded a relatively high growth rate, but though the contribution of women to this growth is well established, studies show that there is still a long way to gender equality. A lot of progress is made, especially in terms of lawmaking, but we know that from the test to the implementation, there is still a long way to go. Over the two past decades, Africa has recorded a relatively high growth rate. On the other side, the African continent has unfortunately experienced many internal conflicts. This wars threaten the security of population and continue to hamper the development of many African countries. Apart from armed conflict, African nations are still experiencing political unrest during electoral periods. Even in post-conflict context, the level of insecurity is such that the population is still subjected to scarcity because of the impossibility to access financial resources. Nations like Democratic Republic of Congo are still remaining today the ground of all kinds of abuses, despite the presence of UN forces. Another calamity that has become a serious challenge to the sustainable development in Africa is terrorism. Terrorist groups continue to roam the Sahara Desert and remote areas of our big and beautiful continent. All these parameters are realities that create insecurity. In all these situations, women are the ones who suffer the most because they find themselves alone in the absence of men, having to defend their lives and that of their children. As they suddenly become breadwinners, they seek for small jobs in order to get financial resources so that they will be able to feed their family and face the basic needs of their children, sometimes at the cost of their lives. On top of that, in such circumstances, there is no way to access health care, especially when they are pregnant and nursing. And the COVID-19 pandemic has come to trigger the precarity of life in refugees camps and in all conflictual contexts. However, the most devastating aspect of conflicts affecting women is the sexual violence and abuse of all kinds to which they are subjected to. Combatants often use sexual abuse as a weapon of war in order to complete their domination over the enemy camp, and girls and women are often reduced to sex slaves. The Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action in 1995, following the Fourth Conference of Women, recognized that violence against women, including rape, sexual slavery, and forced pregnancy, was an obstacle to equality, development, and peace. The strategic objective E1 related to the women and armed conflict diagnosed increase of participation in conflict resolution as a solution to protect women and girls living in situations of armed conflict or under foreign occupation. And strategic objective E4 promotes women contributing to fostering a culture of peace. It's also the awareness of this reality that led the UN Security Council to adopt several resolutions relating to the needs to protect women and girls against sexual violence in armed conflict. And also addressing the important role played by women in the prevention and resolution of conflict, as well as the consolidation of peace. There are a total of 8 resolutions that enforced the active participation of women in peace and security operations. Among all the most important ones adopted are Resolution 135, Resolution 1960, Resolution 2016, and Resolution 2272, adopted in 2016. These resolutions all are aimed at, first, strengthening by regulation the efforts to facilitate the role of women. The first step was the recognition of the important participation of women in efforts to promote and maintain peace and security, as well as the prevention of settlements of disputes. Women were allowed to contribute to peacekeeping missions, whether it is in civilian, military, and police functions. Second step, to assure the physical protection and the defense of women and girls' rights. As sexual violence have continually been used as weapon of war, the second step was the political commitment of the Security Council to prosecute perpetrators of such acts. Sexual violence committed in the context of armed conflict were classified as crimes against humanity and war crimes liable to prosecution. In many cases, the implementation of international law became a real challenge. We know the case of Burundi Armed Force, who belongs to UN peacekeeping operation in Central African Republic. Since last year, despite the rape and abuses they committed on girls and women they were supposed to protect, they were never repatriated nor prosecuted as recommended by Resolution 2272. And millions of dollars are still being paid to their government. Who, if not the peacekeeping forces, who then can protect women in the context of conflict, can protect the population? We need to ensure that victims of sexual abuses can access health care, psychological support, laws protection, and access to justice. These women are usually rejected by the society, and they need social economic reintegration services. UN authorities must take action and address those situations. The third step was the enforcement of the measures to repress perpetrators of sexual abuse against women and girls. Thanks to the presence of women in peacekeeping missions, which mandate is to protect civilian populations, including women and girls who are threatened by all sorts of violence, the cause of victims found a voice, especially in transitional justice procedures. The implication of women in peacekeeping process has greatly encouraged abused women in local communities to report the crimes and abuses that they were subjected to. Women Association contributed greatly to peace negotiation by using their influence to conduct discussions between opposed parties in order to conclude peace agreements. Women coalitions for peace have greatly influenced the conclusions of peace agreements in several conflicts that have rocked our continent. The African society is basically an oral society, and women are skilled in communication with people in their community and addressing the root causes of conflict in order to engage parties in sustainable peace procedures. Mrs. Jacqueline O'Neill, Canadian Ambassador for Women, Peace and Security, declared that women participation in the peace building process increases by 35% the probability that a peace deal will last for at least 15 years. That is why we encourage the United Nations in general and World Women Organization and all UN agencies in charge of defending gender equality and women's rights to work for an enforcement of the decisions of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. We need to develop all kinds of strategies to equip women, engage in peacekeeping processes with adequate training and education. Women are the gates of life. We should not allow these gates to be defiled. There is no sustainable development without women fulfillment. Let's hold hands and work together. We are aware that gender equality is a goal, and its achievement is an arduous task. We need to conjugate men and women efforts and develop gender harmony and tolerance along the line in order to achieve real gender equality and universal peace. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madam Adeland. Thank you for staying up so late. Actually, it's so early. It's early in your country, early morning already, for staying up to deliver this really powerful speech. So now let's welcome our next speaker, Your Excellency Ferozi Nadam. He is the Executive Director of the UN Global Compact Network Malaysia. Please. Yes.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. YB Dato Rashid Hasnon, Angela RM, Secretary General of the WWO, Your Excellencies, distinguished speakers and respected online guests. First and foremost, I would like to record our sincerest thanks to WWO for having Global Compact Network Malaysia to share our views on a topic that is close to our hearts. The world cannot achieve the SDGs without enabling gender equality. It is a topic that must take precedence among the 17 SDGs, as the ripple effect of Goal 5 will bring positive impact to many of the interconnected goals. As with two sides of a coin, the reverse is also true. Already, some reports has put us 60 years behind schedule to achieve the SDGs. Inaction of gender equality will only serve to push this timeline back further and may result in a path of no return from a social lens. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to share some of my thoughts on this matter and several initiatives that we are working on a local level. As we engage primarily with the private sector, we are foremost interested to enable private sector collective action on gender equality. At a global level, the UN Global Compact has launched several gender-specific programs, notably the Women Empowerment Principles. To propagate awareness and call to action for leadership, UNGC and various local networks, Malaysia included, participate in the annual Ring the Bell exercise with local stock exchanges. This program extols the need for leadership to seriously consider gender equality issues as part of a business strategy and day-to-day decision-making. To further enable private sector to scale up action, UNGC also has the Women Empowerment Principle Program. The WEP is both a binding pledge and has a digital tool that companies can use to assess gender gaps and formulate action plans to scale up gender equality within the organizations. In Malaysia, we are working with businesses to adopt the WEP as a process to internalize needed actions to ensure best fit gender equal actions. This tool is also relatable to SMEs to identify needed actions and thus can have a holistic impact across business ecosystems. Yet another tool is the SDG Action Manager, which is an assessment tool to see how companies are performing against the SDGs. This tool has a dedicated section on Goal 5 and how companies should be performing. This provides insight value on the performance of gender equality programs and can be used as a benchmarking exercise to continuously push the output bar. Again, we are working to deploy this tool to Malaysian businesses to continuously excel on the gender front. To further localize, we have partnered with the Tulips Movement, a leading corporate gender equality NGO, to continuously engage both women and men leaders to advocate and champion the gender equality agenda. Amongst the collaborative program, we had conducted an online survey participated by over 100 business respondents to understand gender issues post-COVID-19 at the heart of Malaysian businesses. Key to point out here was that our approach is to highlight gender equality as equitable empowerment so as to avoid meeting gender parity merely by quota. Gender equality must be achieved by expecting similar or higher level of business performance. Some of our findings show that majority of respondents agree that women leaders are better equipped to handle the emotional toil of shifting work patterns and produce expected performance results. Respondents pointed out that this is due to women leaders being better able to communicate and maintain positive morale levels of their teammates during crisis. This finding does correlate to other studies that countries with women prime ministers has outperformed male leaders in handling the COVID crisis. The respondents also selected relevant gender equality policies as key to enabling equitable empowerment. And interestingly, the second highest factor was enhancing paternal roles and support. This highlights the need to treat gender equality with two sides of the coin. We must strive to reduce stigma that men do not belong in family nurturing and that men should also be provided the same benefit of spending time and effort with domestic issues. Majority of respondents had also highlighted the economic and education aspects as the two critical issues that needs to be overcome to achieve equitable empowerment. An interesting end to our research points that the largest factor contributing to gender inequality is the fear among women to ask for equal pay and equal opportunities. This points to a self-inflicted glass ceiling that may contribute towards a self-fulfilling prophecy. Hence, whilst companies can set gender equality policies, both genders need to be proactive in pushing the equitable empowerment needle and advocate the change they wish to see. The fact remains that Malaysia ranks 104th in the world according to Bloomberg's Global Gender Gap Index, with women significantly underrepresented in the political sphere and in high-level management of companies in the country. We are also lagging our ASEAN peers. However, this points out to the tremendous opportunity to leapfrog change for Malaysia. Incremental change is no longer enough. What is required is scaling up strategies and programs to achieve exponential changes in gender equality that correlates directly to equitable empowerment. This bodes well for businesses as well, as research has pointed out that GDP growth of RM6 billion is possible with larger women participation in the workforce. Now, as a father of 2 daughters, I am an advocate for gender equality. This does not mean that women need to be more like men or vice versa. Rather, the responsibilities of growth must be co-shared by leveraging the strengths of both genders. We must avoid setting mere numbers to achieve goal 5 and rely on mere tick box exercises, but rather see how equality leads to equitable empowerment. Men must play our role to consciously bring equality and empowerment issues within our circle of influence, and women must not be afraid to lead the change to close the gender gap. Him and her are 2 sides of the same coin. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your wonderful speech and for you to share the wonderful things you have done in Malaysia as a global compact. Actually, for our WWO, we have a CSR committee. We have been working very closely with the UN Global Compact to engage business companies in sustainable development goals. So yeah, the Global Compact does provide very effective, useful tools for companies to be able to participate in all 17 SDGs. And number 5, gender equality, that also provide very good guidance on that. And thank you for sharing what you have done in Malaysia. Thank you very much. Next, let's welcome Your Excellency Simon Pierre Devland. He is a 2016 presidential candidate for the Republic of Benin and also the ambassador of the Republic of Benin to the People's Republic of China. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Devland. Thank you.
Mrs. Angela, Director General of World Women Organization, Honorable Hashnon, Deputy Speaker of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, as we are celebrating today the 25th anniversary of Beijing Declaration, I want to congratulate you all for the great work that you achieved that enable us to be together on this platform today, at this moment. When I think about Beijing Declaration, 25 years ago, 2 words come to my mind: peace and harmony. We see today around us, all around the world, the peace is at risk, and we see a lot of challenges and threats. But it is through harmony, gender harmony, that will find the best ways, the new highways that will lead us to a better world. I think through our today's activities, we share thoughts, we share new ideas that will lead us to a consensus. Let us come together and find the best ways, the best ideas, the best avenue for a better world. Congratulations to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, please join me to welcome Your Excellency Claudio Shermi. He is the president of the organizing committee of the World Canoe Polo Championship in 2021. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'm Claudio Schermi and I am the president of the European Dragon Boat Federation. I'm pleased and honored today to be here with the World Women Organization to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for action. Today, I'm here to speak about the women and sport. The role of the woman in the sport is continuously grown in the last decades, with the development and the implementation of the women and sport policy to promote equal opportunities for girls and women to participate in and benefit from sport and physical activity. My first action after I've been elected president of the European Dragon Boat Federation was to establish the EDBF Women in Sport Commission. Mrs. Anna Socrates from Cyprus chaired the commission. Dragon boat, a traditional Chinese sport, is so much inclusive for women. We have mixed crews with 10 men and 10 women paddling together. Women crews with only women allowed to paddle, and open crews where the best paddlers are welcome to paddle, not only men. No gender differences in the open crews. The best paddlers get their places. In these difficult times, during the pandemic COVID-19 outbreak, women covered key roles in the restart. In many nations, they cover successfully the position of COVID safety managers during the events. They write the protocols. They encourage continuously to respect distances and cleaning measures. Some of them, as doctors and nurses, have been in first line to fight the pandemic and save human lives. The responsibility of the EDBF Women in Sport Commission, as in the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, are to advise on the development and implementation of a women in sport strategy, to advise on advocacy for increased participation of women athletes in the sport program and in sport leadership position, promoting the rights and well-being of women and girls in and through sport, and greater access to sport for girls and women. Advice on recognition of achievements of individuals and organizations promoting women in and through sport, including through the Women in Sport Award. Advice on development and dissemination of EDBF's position on women and sport issues, and monitoring and regularly reporting on the progress of the sport in meeting gender equality. Promotion of the issue of the sport as a tool for gender equality and empowerment, and raising awareness of harassment and abuse in sport. Advice on supporting the development of women's skills in management and leadership, including through training, seminars, workshops, and mentoring. Support of local projects benefiting girls and women. In the last few years, one of the achievements for the sport was appointing more women to leadership roles within the administration and government, with around 40% of the positions across its council and 5 commissions now occupied by women, an historic high. The EDBF, European Dragon Boat Federation, continues its advance towards gender equality. In addition, 2 vice presidents over 4 vice president positions, the secretary general, the treasurer, and the chairholders of 1 commission are now covered by women. Sport is one of the most powerful platforms for promoting gender equality and empowering women and girls. Sport leaders have an important responsibility to take action when it comes to gender equality, a basic human right of profound importance and a fundamental principle of the Olympic Charter. the strategic roadmap of the sport reaffirmed the commitment and priority of gender balance. Many sport stakeholders have also implemented significant gender equality initiatives so that girls and women around the world are being given greater access and the opportunity to participate in sport. However, there are still many challenges to be addressed. We can remove the barriers that have maintained the status for longer than we want to admit. Our core business is sport, and sport is a catalyst for change, expressed hope for the future of women in sport. In the field of sport professionalism, as journalists, which has been proven also by several studies, as for the presentation, visibility of women in sport media as athletes and as sport journalists made by Dr. Zsuzsa Zsuzsa from Hungary, including the UNESCO data, is that women still only get 4% of sports media coverage. And of that coverage, their physical appearance, family life, and love life are referenced more than their athletic ability. Sexist headlines can ruin what should be a perfect moment for women athletes. We can and we should fight for fair coverage of women athletes. But for that, I believe we need to have more competent, credible, and professionally well accepted women in sport journalism. Unfortunately, due to the recent pandemic, as stadiums and sports fields closed their doors and sports media were pushed out of the events, the first so-called real victims of that transition were the female colleagues, the female sport journalists in most cases. Why? What happened was that in developed countries, dual income couples had to decide who should look after the home and the family. And because men often still are the higher earners in the family, many women rather risked losing their own job and income. Furthermore, women make up a significant part of the informal and part-time workers, freelancers in our field, in the field of journalism. And these are usually the first to get caught when companies need to downsize. The virus will potentially present a setback for women and women sport journalists in terms of their independence and their lifetime earning meanings that some will never recover to a pre-corona level. Our economic expert expect it now. In a recent study done by Emma Boberg, IMS Global Response Department Gender Advisor, said, if media is not conscious about inclusion, women and marginalized groups like female sport journalists, for instance, are going to be left out, stereotyped, and misrepresented. If gender sensitivity is not made a priority, media tend to replicate and reinforce deeply rooted biases that can have long-lasting and devastating effects on how the society responds to crisis and ultimately to gender equality. In conclusion, I believe female sport, both as athletes and as coaches, officials, journalists, agents, not just have to find their voice, they have to be heard. Their perspective of topics have to be shown. Their views have to be seen. So we have to act effectively and with no delay by helping each other to defend those achievements and results that we have fought for so far. Please remember Dr. Zsuzsa Zsuzsa motto. Performance counts, And performance has no gender, no gender. Thank you for your attention, and thank you to the president of the Global Association of International Sport Federation, Mr. Raffaele Chiulli, to the president of the EDBF Women Commission, Anna Socrates, to the honorary president of the International Dragon Boat Federation, Mike Aslan, and to Dr. Tsusa, that gave us very good help in represent what's the feeling of for the women in sport as professionals, as journalists. Thank you very much, and have a good meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Shermy, for your strong support for women, especially women in sports. And thanks for the wonderful speech as well. And our next speaker is Ms. Sunita Rajakumar. She is a Global Advisory Board member for Nottingham University's School of Business. Please welcome.
Good afternoon to everyone. It is always difficult to be the speaker standing between the listeners and their lunch, especially after a great session of so many luminaries. So I'll try to make my closing remarks short and sweet. This morning, we've been reminded over and again of the incredible progress which has been made and the challenges which remain ahead. I would like to share with you two inspiring stories of women achieving outsized impacts in their respective fields, but first, an overview of women on boards of directors in corporate Malaysia. It's been a long journey since 2011, when the Prime Minister announced a target of 30% by 2016. This was also echoed in the corporate governance blueprint. By 2016, this target was redefined as being women comprising 30% of boards of directors in the top 100 listed companies, which was also captured in the Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance. As you can see, this has been a long journey, but in respect of the top 100 listed companies, we are ahead of many countries. Now, I have two stories to tell you. The first story is the remarkable achievement of a civil servant in the Ministry of Health. As a nutritionist, her job included visiting the school canteens in her district and assessing the nutritional values of the food served to children. Today, the cheapest calories are often found in junk food, and we have relatively high levels of malnutrition. Miss Amanda Teo managed to persuade multiple stakeholders, including the headmaster, teachers, parents, students, to support a nutritious school feeding program during break time. In this school, the students also have a tablecloth and their own bowls for their food. And before every meal, the students must say thank you to the country, to their parents, to the teachers, fellow friends, farmers, and people. The freshly cooked meals are not only nutritious but delicious. Sourcing food locally is also very affordable, with a low carbon footprint without cost of packaging and transport. Local suppliers have started to give discounts as much as 30% to schools, and farmers are also donating their produce. Having so many stakeholders participating makes this program much more resilient. Even so, some parents can't afford the daily cost, and we all need to work together to find ways to help them. Through this one woman's initiative over the last 9 years, with other passionate nutritionists also supporting this, 61 schools have now adopted the school feeding program, and we are hoping that many more children benefit from not just better nutrition, but a cultural awareness of their meals and appreciation of it. The second story I want to share with you is that of risks arising from the climate crisis we are facing. Our lifestyles are causing unprecedented global warming of the planet and tremendous loss in biodiversity. All of this will have consequences which we are simply not ready for. It has been recognized that businesses and industries which fail to be prepared for this risk will simply fail to exist. Trillions in value is expected to be lost during our lifetimes. The impacts are significant on economic and financial systems, It will be far-reaching in breadth and magnitude, simultaneously uncertain and yet totally foreseeable. The size of these impacts will be seen in the next decade, but will depend on our actions in the next 3 to 5 years. A group of women directors set up the first country chapter in Asia of the World Economic Forum's Climate Governance Initiative. Climate Governance Malaysia was launched in May last year. It is virtually housed under the Institute of Corporate Directors Malaysia, and since then, in just over a year, it has organized for 31 events to raise awareness and advocate amongst directors about the financial risks arising from the climate emergency. An initiative led by independent directors, all of whom are women, signals the maturing of the capital markets in recognizing their responsibilities as long-term stewards of the business. In summary, I would like to invite us all to remember the importance of maintaining balance in our lives. Balance between the roles of men and women, for it is not possible for any nation to reach its full potential if half of its population is systematically discriminated against and not able to contribute to nation building to their fullest capacity. Gaining much more importance now, striving for a sustainable balance between humans and their environment, which is essential for our survival. We need to collaborate closely to ensure a smooth transition to a warmer world. I like to remind all the women listening and all the men who are supporting us that when the world is silent on a topic we feel strongly about, even one voice becomes powerful. We all know we have the ability to make a difference, but we need to think about the difference we want to make. Because when you stand up for yourself, you are standing up for many people. Thank you so much for your attention. All the best for the rest of this conference.
Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. And she quoted Mao Zedong saying, women hold up half the sky and the other half is men. So together we form a good universal balanced sky. We have achieved our gender harmony. We really have a wonderful line of speakers today. Each one presented us knowledge and information about their country and about different areas. We are really very grateful about every speaker and our participants. So for today's closing remarks, I would like to invite our very special and honorable guests, Madam Miwa Kato, if she's still here, and also our honorable Deputy Speaker of the Malaysia Parliament, Honorable Dato Hasna. I would like to invite you to come back to be our closing speech, make our closing speech.
You're calling Miwa Kato first?
Okay, maybe Miwa Kato first.
Yes. Thank you very much for giving me this honor. I have to say it was very, very interesting to hear all these different perspectives. And what struck me is that in different things we heard today, from very different walks of life, different parts of the world, literally, but I think there's very much a common thread, which is that there's a lot to appreciate in terms of what's been achieved. There's a lot more to be done, and that is something that needs to be done together in harmony. I think this was the word that I very much picked up. And it is true. I think in this world that we face today with, in many ways, unprecedented challenges and multiple issues that no one country, no one person, community can tackle. So many of our problems are interconnected and interrelated that it takes different kind of expertise, different kind of ideas and perspectives for us to find solutions. So it's men, women, old, young, public sector people, private sector people, people who are maybe very liberal, people maybe who are very much for establishment. Different people bring different things for us to join hands together, for us to not only meet the challenges we face today, but also to turn many of them into opportunities. I think as we live in this exceptional year of 2020, all of us in different ways are reminded that, or should be reminded, that human beings and our civilization have overcome so many challenges which at the time seemed unsurmountable. But that only happened when we put our forces together and made that leap to advance our common culture. And women and men definitely have a role in all that. So today's discussion really reminded me of that common humanity, our togetherness, and our personal commitment. I think all of us connected here are looking at this issue much more than just as a job. It is a passion, I think, for all of us personally. And aren't we lucky to have positions to be able to advocate for those who cannot. So thank you very much for this sense of connection. Let us hope to follow up on various things that came up today. I salute once again for the leadership of those organizing this, this very important gathering, and also to add my appreciation for all friends of Malaysia, of the Asian Pacific region, who I miss very, very much. Very far from you physically, but I always carry Asia in my heart, and I think that's also good for the world. So thank you once again, and hope to hear future proceedings of what we can do together. Thank you.
Thank you. Special thanks goes to you as well. You have been helping us quite tremendously already, and we look forward to working with you more closely in the future. And your experience at the UN Women, your experience, expertise will be of very significant value to all of us here at the WWO. We do look forward to working with you more in the future. Like you just said, we're working together. All the things we said, the common thread is no one can do this. We need to connect it, working together. Thank you very much. I just saw Sunita is here online, actually. Would you like to say a few words? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure to be part of this. I am so sorry that you had to experience so much technical difficulties. You've done a terrific job, especially in pulling together everyone. It's been a great range of voices. And I think these are strong leadership ambitions that, that will really be able to make a mark in the world. So congratulations once again, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, now let's welcome our deputy speaker to make the closing remark, please.
Thank you all, whom I can see has been, connected well. I did notice that there are about consistently about 25 to 30 people online has been, looking at, at our conference, all every parts of the world. There are a few things that I think those who are concentrating from the beginning, there are a few catchwords that we can learn from this conference. Among others are, no one is left behind, gender harmony, SDG 5, and many more. And of course, my keyword for this is none other than Beijing Declaration and Platform for Actions. I think we cannot just put a full stop for now. Whatever ideas that has been projected today should be worked out, and we must have our resolution and look forward. Understand this afternoon there will be a celebration, isn't it, in Beijing? So hopefully some of our points being taken care of. And of course, we are not new in this, helping to struggle, especially the women to be recognized in this, in our humanity. And if each of our country has our own history, I may quote one, for example, in the history of Prophet Muhammad from the this Islamic civilization. The one who has helped Prophet Muhammad at that time was Siti Khadijah. She herself was an entrepreneur at the age of 40 years old, helping up Muhammad at the age of 25. They got married, and in all aspects, not only this family life, but social life and also entrepreneurship life. So I'm sure each country has got your own history of how the leadership of women is part and parcel of the success of each of the country. And of course, if you look at the achievement of women, apart from what I mentioned earlier, that includes the achievement those such as Jacinda Ardern, remember, the New Zealand Prime Minister, Theresa May, Hillary Clinton, and they are noteworthy because of its rarity. But it is not because of we want to single out, but it's an example of how women actually can be part, together with men in ruling and making the destination of all the countries. And lastly, I would like to congratulate, let's put between men and women, we must have an arm's length each other, in our cooperation, so that we can make this world a better place to stay. We live together, and congratulations to the WWO for organizing this celebration. Thank you very much. Sisi Nandri Wanakkam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for staying through the conference and listen to all the speakers, and thank you very much. Director General Angela, do you want to see just a few final words?
Thank you. And thank you for dear Honorable Dato Rashid. On behalf of World Women Organization, and also in my own name, a heartfelt welcome to all Excellency speakers, my dear friend, and warm congratulations on this event. We will carry platform for action with all of your support.
Thank you, Director General. Yes, you have been working very hard, all of us working together to put this conference together. And also in the afternoon, in about 2 hours, we will have our China celebration in Beijing and Shanghai. And I will make a presentation. We'll summarize each one of our speakers, summarize your key points and your bios with our Chinese media and also the Chinese attendees in Beijing, with people who used to work on the 25th anniversary, who worked there to organize the conference, from the representatives from Beijing Women's Federation, and also in Shanghai, from Shanghai United Nations Research Institute, and also the South-South Collaboration. Previously, our Honorable Zhou Yiping was making a speech. He was the one who is heading the Shanghai offline celebration. And our colleague in Beijing is hosting a celebration. And the entire celebration in China will be live streaming on one of the major news network, Phoenix TV. So I will make that available as well. That's also in Chinese. But I will make sure I share every one of your key points today with our audience in China at the beginning of the China conference. And tomorrow, we also have a line of speakers from NGOs, academia, from globe, all over the world again tomorrow. We'll have another 3 hours of conference session from the perspectives of NGO, other entities on women's issues, with focus on women and education, women and health, women and sustainability development, and women and economic independence. And we will talk more about women entrepreneurship and women's business development. That's our plan for tomorrow. So with that, I would like to announce the successful closing of our today's conference. This is really just a beginning, a small beginning. We have a lot of tasks, goals, not just the sustainable development goals, but also our World Women Organization goals. And with the strong leadership of our Director General, Angela, she has been extremely dedicated, driven, and extremely passionate. We should give her a round of applause. Really.
Angela.
Yeah. Very, very, very inspiring to work with her. And also for our deputy speaker, you are our strong support. You are our strongest support. And everybody else. I feel so connected with everyone here today.
Yeah.
And with that,
Everyone else.
I would like to announce today's event, John, and wish everybody have a great day. Everybody in the North American side, have a great evening. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Here, okay.
Right.
It's a special year, a lot of special connections happens. And I look forward to see you in person in Malaysia soon, hopefully soon.
We must all do like this. Small love.
That's
That's
what
what
like this,
the Korean says. Small love.
Okay. Thank
Everyone
you.
say like this. Small love.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes. You have a picture?
Yeah. Small love. All right. Good.
Sha, can you take a screenshot? Sha, can you take a screenshot of all of us?
Yes, I just did.
Yeah, small.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. One more time. Cheers. Cheers.
Claudio, like this. Claudio.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Yeah, everybody
Thank
have a
you.
great
Bye-bye.
day. Bye-bye.